years of the Modi government, time to look at the report card, and who better than perhaps the star performer, as they call, the very, very energetic Mr. Piyush Goyal joins us right here on ET Now. Thank you very much for being with us. There's a reason why I call you the Mr. Energetic of the Modi government, all pun intended there. Your worst critics will perhaps say that power, coal, renewables has seen a lot of action. So it's been a very power-packed 2 years for you. I don't want to go back to what you've done because that's in the public domain and you've really ticked a lot of boxes. There's a whole laundry list that you've achieved. But I also want to speak to you about the way ahead. After having achieved so much, what else are you looking to do? And I should begin with Uday because Uday, a lot of experts will grant, your worst critics will say, it is perhaps the most honest attempt made at cleaning up India's very opaque power sector. It's been close to, what, 3 quarters now, 9 months since you announced Uday. How satisfied are you with the progress that has been made? Because if you look at the states on board, about 12 of them are on board, many more still to go. By when do you see more states come in and how many A do you hope ending up with? All 29?
Thank you for some of your kind words. Only 2 corrections. One, I'm wondering there are so many critics that you have to again and again talk about my worst critics. And 2, Uday was notified end of November, so we're about 5 months into Uday.
Right.
And as we stand today, and I've just come in here from a very detailed review of Uday, which, as you know, went on even longer than budgeted. Because our reviews are in great detail with all the various ministries.
Yes. And
today I feel very much satisfied that the teamwork with which Uday was conceptualized. And I often look at Uday as a shining example of Prime Minister Modi's vision of working in government with the combined collective effort of Team India.
I understand, yes.
And Uday in that sense came up from a bottom-up approach with the concurrence of all stakeholders. And that's why we've been in such a short period. And you know how schemes, the FRP last time took 18 months to implement.
That's right, yes.
This one in less than 5 months. We've already got 10 states with a detailed agreement. And I hope you've seen those agreements. They're all on the website for public consumption. Another 8 states or 7 states and 1 union territory, agreements are in the process of being finalized. 5 states went to polls. West Bengal, Assam and the 3 southern, which I could understand their plight. They are not sure. Most of them are going to lose the election, possibly as it is. So it was better that we let the new government take a call on Uday. And I think as soon as the results are out, we'll have decisions taken on that.
You know,
and there are a few which have power discoms. So really there's nobody left. We'll have the entire country as a part of it.
Close to 1 lakh crore rupees in debt has been converted into government-backed bonds. When you launched there, I remember talking in this very room, in those 2 chairs perhaps, and you said that this is comprehensive because it requires a tariff revision. It requires, it required that sort of commitment. If I were to ask you, if you look at how it has rolled out today, there haven't been very significant tariff hikes. There have been no major reduction as far as transmission losses are concerned. Get candid here. You've tried to get the states on board. Are they keeping their commitments?
I never spoke about tariff revisions. What I said is
the losses of Uday relied on this.
I urge you to go back to your recording. I would have said that the states cannot continue to make losses and run the show. They'll have to make good the losses. How they do it is their choice. After all, they may choose to give a subsidy out of their state budget. They may choose to take the loss
but there are fiscal implications
or they may choose to right-size the tariff if they are not able to make up with operational and financial improvements. Ideally, to my mind, no state needs to increase tariffs. Personally, I think with the 1,80,000 crore saving that the state discoms and correspondingly the people of various states can enjoy because of successful implementation of Uday, can take care of the losses. In fact, we should actually be seeing price reductions. And the good news is Mumbai, BST has already petitioned for a price reduction. Gujarat has already given a price reduction to its people. So we are seeing the impact of Uday already. As far as AT&C losses go, states have still to get their act in order. We still have the rollout of Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana and IPDS, which is just getting kick-started as we speak. Also earlier, even the data was all wrong. We don't have correct data. Our first focus is to know what the problem is. Because any good redressal of a problem can only be done if your planning is right, and planning can only be right if your data points are right.
You know, the reason why I asked you that question was that most experts, when Uday was launched, did laud it, but they also cautioned that if there are not going to be these corrective measures, the success of Uday essentially lies on that, and which is why I'm asking you, are states making an honest commitment in honoring that?
Very, very good commitment. I must compliment all the states of India for the enthusiasm with which they are looking at Uday, they are working with Uday. More particularly, I must compliment, for example, the state of Rajasthan, the state of Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh, who have really taken on Uday full stream ahead. They are the ones who've given out most of the bonds, and they were the ones which had the maximum stress. Vasundhara Raje and Khattar inherited a terrible state of affairs when they came into government. Uttar Pradesh has been a sad story all through the last many years. Successive governments in the last 5, 7, 10 years have completely messed the Uttar Pradesh power system. I think now the states have realized that what Prime Minister Modi achieved in Gujarat is the right way forward. You have to set your discoms right. That's the only way to achieve 24/7 power, and by achieving 24/7 power, you can earn the goodwill, political goodwill of the people. So I'm not worried about the states on board.
Right.
What I would like to tell the so-called naysayers, and there are very few left now, possibly one or two in Mumbai and one or two in Delhi.
Let me just, I don't know the ones in Mumbai you're referring to.
Nobody else is worried about it.
Let me ask you a question.
The important thing to note in this is, A, we are monitoring it like it has never been done before. B, we have provided a hard budget constraint, which was never provided before. So even if I don't do anything, the very fact that nobody is going to fund these losses will make the states more responsible.
But I will ask you a question here, and because you mentioned naysayers in Mumbai, the central bank did raise a few eyebrows when Uday was launched on fiscal implications. If you actually look at the bonds today, some naysayers believe that they have not found the takers, genuine takers. Takers are largely in public sector entities. How would you defend your position?
Would you do a little more research, Supriya, for our next engagement? Yes. Because I think you missed the point there. Some of the naysayers felt that it will flood the market and there will be a problem. We were able to give 1 lakh crores of bonds in about 3 weeks or 4 weeks time. It didn't impact the market at all, and India has a deep financial market. I don't think 1 lakh crores really could have toppled it. And more importantly, the private sector demand was huge. It is unfortunate that we didn't have more bonds to give. If you recall, in the end, the last week, the demand was more than the supply. And because of that, today, Reserve Bank is empowered or has the confidence to say, we'll do a reverse auction of these bonds.
You know, the naysayers who began saying that you're actually passing the fiscal deficit to the states, you're going to widen their deficit, you believe you've been able to shut them up in the last 5 months?
I don't know who said that, but whoever said it must be pretty ignorant. Because they don't understand that in a company, I'll take an analogy of a company.
Right.
If there's a holding company and there's a subsidiary, the subsidiary debt is ultimately the holding company's debt. When you look at it holistically, you take the entire debt as one. This is a similar situation. These discoms are belonging to the state government. Someday the state government will have to make good that.
So let's turn focus to your other ambitious target, and one of them was that to bring down the overall AT&C losses from 27% to 15% in about 3.5 years. Again, like I said, it's an ambitious target. It will also involve a lot of capex, especially at the state level. Are you where are you on achieving that target? Because this is going to involve significant capital outlay. On board with that?
This is a process which takes many factors into consideration.
Exactly.
The first and most important, and I mentioned it the other day, was the mindset change.
Right.
Now people are willing to accept that 15% is possible nationally. On an individual state basis, there are some which have committed to reduce from 55 to 15, and some who have even planned to reduce to single digit. So the mindset today
is 15 a realistic target today?
Sure, 100%. See, you must bear in mind, A, we are supporting states with Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana and IPDS, both of which entail an investment of nearly 1,20,000 crores. B, we are bringing in new technologies. For example, in today's Uday review, while the original proposal was that smart meters only for consumers above 200 units, I've asked them to examine how we can make it that every new meter in India now will be a smart meter. Why should we be using outdated technology? We've reviewed how we're going to focus on feeder metering, right down to the distribution feeders. And sometimes distribution feeders are at 3 or 4 household level.
That's right.
So the amount of detail in which this whole program has been worked out gives me the confidence that we are going to achieve it. At best, there may be 1 or 2 small aberrations here or there, but those aberrations never deter me from the big picture.
So this will entail a significant increase in capital outlay. Is that an honest assessment being made?
Of course, and we will encourage that. And I can see the writing on the wall with greater degree of technology being involved in our rollout of new lines, in the rollout of new transmission lines, in the way we'll take rural electrification to the last man at the bottom of the pyramid.
Now ask you a question which is another big, which is coal shortage. It seems to be a thing of the past, and one wonders why was it not tackled earlier. Coal India has been producing very well, ramping up significantly. What's your outlook on the domestic front? I mean, imports have gone down substantially, so that obviously, and I understand, brings a huge smile on your face.
Yes, Supriya, last year we saved, I'm told the revised figures are about 24,000 crores of forex last year. This year our target is to save 40,000 crores. So that straight away impacts the macro.
True, exactly, the fiscal math.
Current account deficit.
Yes.
B, I remember in the meeting August of 2014, when I literally at midnight, out of frustration, said Coal India needs to produce 1 billion tons. There's no other way to solve this problem. In that same meeting, and today in Uday review we recounted that. My additional secretary Coal was there that day, and he recounted that in that same meeting I told the Director Marketing of Coal India that 1.5 years later, I want you to go begging with a begging bowl to market coal rather than sitting as the king of coal. And I'm delighted that we've come to that situation today, that only last week I had to call the entire ministry and officials of Coal India, particularly the Director Marketing, and actually pull them up for more aggressive marketing efforts to get coal into the market. I'm now making a request to my colleagues, and I'm happy to share it with your viewers, that I've said that 1.5 years from now, we should have a situation that coal should flow seamlessly in the country, and all these end-use restrictions, linkages, all the hurdles we have put into the whole system over the last 45 years should all go away, and we should have coal available on tap.
You've got a huge thumbs up even for the bridge linkage that you've just introduced. But just a quick question on coal, because many people believe it was such an opaque sector, such an opaque space, and you've kind of made it transparent. One does want to know what's the update on the latest coal block auction. It's going to start by the end of this month. What sort of response? Coal block auction for the non-power sector.
Coal linkage auction.
Coal linkage auction, yeah. And what sort of response are you expecting?
Coal India has been giving out linkages, which were decided by the Ministry of Coal for many, many years.
Yes.
I can understand up to a point of time when there was sufficient coal, whoever wanted it, got it. We were a power-starved country, and steel, cement, all of them were emerging sectors.
But there was also an artificial deficit of sorts in the system.
Since 2010, this deficit aggravated.
That's right.
And then the rationing started. And in some sense, they almost stopped giving the linkages.
Right. Yes.
And the whole country has been facing this very, very unfortunate situation for the last 3-4 years of the UPA regime. Today, we've come to a situation where there is sufficient coal available. End of this month, we'll kickstart the process of the non-power sector giving out linkages afresh. And by next month, I think the cabinet will approve it for the power sector also. Okay. And we'll start linkage auction for power sector probably by July.
And what sort of response are you expecting?
Well, all the demand which has been unmet and which has often to resort to purchase from the open market or e-auctions or imports will get an equal opportunity to bid and take that coal. And I'm doing it all in a transparent manner. You can monitor it on your mobile phone. I'll make sure it's open for viewing. And I will not play favorites with anybody. People can bid and take the...
I don't think people can pay favorites in the coal sector with a barge full after what has happened. But I'll just move to UMPPs because the budget spoke about the plug and play model, 5 new UMPPs to be announced. Let me ask you a very candid question. There has been very tepid response in the past, and obviously policy tweaking of a certain kind is required. What kind of policy changes are you going to do to reignite the interest in the UMPP space?
Well, we are making a very serious effort in the Ministry of Power on a twin objective. One, on efficiency, to bring down the consumption of power.
Right.
B, on encouraging power demand. For example, I just threw a proposition to the Madhya Pradesh Power Secretary 3 weeks ago, on the 30th of April. I said, now why don't you think of a scheme where to encourage industry in your state and to attract jobs, get new job creation, build up your indirect tax revenue, your tax revenue, your VAT revenue. Why don't you offer power for 10 years at a fixed tariff? Change the rules of the game. Why do we have to always think that industrial power has to be very expensive? Let's say I give power at 3.5 or 4 rupees for 10 years.
Right.
I'll be able to encourage industry into India.
Exactly.
So we are looking at newer out-of-the-box ideas to encourage power demand. So that we save on the one hand, generate more on the other hand, and then encourage industrialization.
So this is a part of the tweaking for the UMPPs as well?
So UMPPs need that because we need more demand to be generated, point one.
Right.
Point two, the documents that were created by the erstwhile regime have so many loopholes that bankers had said we refuse to finance these UMPPs. Initially I thought it was just a private sector ploy to get more concessions. But then on a detailed analysis by a team led by the very illustrious former CVC, Mr. Piyush Goyal, we found so many lacunas in the old documents.
But that report has been lying with you for a while now.
So that's now been finalized and we are shortly taking it to Cabinet for approval.
So there will be a new UMPP policy.
There will be a new UMPP document now for the domestic coal, and then later on we'll see if at all required for imported coal also. But now there will be a document which we had bankers also. My entire work has been teamwork where we engage all stakeholders. So bankers are now fully in the loop, they are happy, they say we can finance. Point one. You won't believe it, there's a proposal which is now stuck with me, but I can't help it also, where there's an old antiquated law which says mining leases can only be hypothecated or mortgaged to a set of banks announced in the law itself. Now maybe 50 years ago that law may have had those banks. There are hundreds of new banks that have come up, foreign banks.
But that's
so I have to now amend the law.
Yeah, that's exactly what people would want you to do.
Ideally, it should have been a rule-making power. But somebody at that point of time made it in a power.
So will have to be a legislative?
I'll have to legislate on that. I have no choice.
You were one of the main architects of the Modi campaign of 2014. I know that for a fact now. A lot of people believe that the government doesn't seem to have gotten out of the campaign mode. There is always this attempt to manage headlines.
Not at all. We are enthusiastically doing our work. The headlines are coming because of the work Prime
Why does
Minister
everything
Modi
have to be
doing.
branded, sold, everything has to be marketed? There seems to be this
No, but tell
this
me, what
impression.
are we marketing? We are marketing the truth. We are marketing what work has happened. We are marketing through transparency to encourage people. Now let me ask you a simple thing. LED bulbs have been around for long. Why did the governments have to buy it at 5 times the price at which I am buying it?
Yes.
And why did they have to restrict it to 600,000 bulbs in a day, in a year, which Modi ji's government is doing in one day? How could we scale it up to 150x in less than a year and a half?
By marketing it.
Exactly. So people need to know about it. I need bidders to come and bid aggressively
Is
and
your
make
government,
the price.
I think what I was getting to...
After all, transparency is helping you and the common man.
I understand
Your
that.
criticism is helping us perform better. After all...
Are you thin-skinned on criticism?
Supriya, who do the people have expectations from?
People like you.
No. From somebody who they trust can deliver. Who do you go and even ask for alms from? From a person you know has the money who can give it to you.
Yes.
So the people have expectations from Prime Minister Modi and his team because they trust that Mr. Modi is the one man who's so clear in his vision, who has a big picture story, who's very clear in his commitment to the poor of the country, who's committed to delivering results, who's beyond corruption, who's beyond crony capitalism. That's why they trust him and that's why they have high expectations. And we are all expected to deliver on that promise. And that's all that we are trying to do.
You understand finance, and GST has been this one game-changing legislation, as everybody calls it. It's still stalled. The Congress doesn't seem to be willing to change its mind on this. The finance minister has urged many a time. Are we relying too many hopes on the GST? Is that all that game-changing?
It's very sad that the Congress has chosen politics over good economics and has chosen to oppose a reform which they had initiated in
they call themselves the
little
original
half-baked
architects.
form, which Prime Minister Modi and Arun Jaitley ji were able to really make out to be absolutely acceptable to all the states and correct the anomalies in it. For example, very often congressmen say, but it's our law. You opposed it, so we have a right to oppose. But they are forgetting the point. We opposed it because there was no trust in that government. We opposed it because they were not even paying the CST dues that they were bound to pay when they reduced CST rates. Prime Minister Modi and Jaitley ji actually corrected all those anomalies, which is how today all states and all political parties are on board except Congress playing politics. It's unfortunate, but I can assure you and through you the viewers and the people of India that Prime Minister Modi will deliver on his commitments irrespective of Congress supporting on any particular law or no. The commitments we made for a simpler tax regime, for ensuring that taxpayers have ease of business, simplicity in operations.
Will GST be a reality in your regime?
Well, more than me, you should be asking that question on the people who are stalling Parliament every time we are trying to get that passed.
Is GST all that a game-changing legislation? Are we making too much of just one law?
I think, yeah, in some sense, even when I was traveling to UK and USA in my last visit and interacting with investors, I think they've realized that Prime Minister Modi and his team have so many other things happening, so many wonderful things going on in the country that even without GST they'll be able to perform extremely well. If GST would have come in and Congress didn't play petty politics, possibly we could have gone one step further. But irrespective, the people's expectations we will meet.
So one last question before I let you go. When your government came to power, and there was a lot of distrust between India Inc. on one hand and the previous government on the other, when your government came to power, you were looked at as sympathizers of businessmen. You were looked at as sympathizers of India Inc. Because they had been at the suffering end perhaps because of the policy paralysis that one saw previously. But if you look at the Vijay Mallya case, the signal that is being read at least is that you're trying to make an example out of this one man. And do you believe you run the risk of sending out a very wrong signal?
I don't think anything has changed. From the day Prime Minister Modi came into government and all of us joined him, our eye has been on the last man at the bottom of the pyramid. What Pandit Deendayal Upadhyay had articulated 50 years ago, the Antyodaya concept, that this nation has to be concerned first and the right of the nation's resources are first of the poorest of the poor.
That's right.
Has been our philosophy from day one till today. Point one. Point two, industry has an important role to play in that. They provide jobs, they provide investment, very important stakeholders. And we recognize and respect that from day one till today. But what we do not accept and recognize and support is crony capitalism, is corruption, is rent seeking, and that's the kind of serious effort Prime Minister has done from day one. We've set up the SIT in the first cabinet. Our fight against black money is legendary, both internationally and in India. No government in the past has really gone after black money like this government has. And we are committed to eliminating this scourge from India. It is that section of business which is suddenly finding itself a little in hot water or out of place.
Do you run the risk?
Honest businessmen are extremely happy to run because it's a level playing field and it's transparent.
Is there a risk that you run with this particular case of alienating a section of India Inc.?
I don't think so. The whole people of the nation and the world have seen how it has panned out and they have recognized our sincere efforts in cleaning up the system. And it's not one case, there are many cases on which the government has come down with a heavy hand. Any case where there is any willful default, any case where there is fraud, any case where there is demonstrated or proven culpability, this government does not...
it will be dealt with an iron hand, so to say. So on that very optimistic note, we do wish you some sleep and some meals. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at etnowlive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/etnow.